Hello, my YouTube community and feminine spaces. I got a great question today from Amber regarding confidence. So we're answering a DM on confidence. And she says not the basic stuff, but the stuff that really helps us to get centered and deep down within ourselves. And it's such a great question because confidence, as you and I both know, has everything to do with doing the things that we really don't want to do that are in our best interest. And one of those is being really honest with yourself. That is like the foundation for confidence. To ask those deep questions, to really get introspective with yourself, but also to recognize that that stuff that you and I avoid, that stuff that you're avoiding that needs to be done is preventing you from building your confidence. It's preventing you from actually building your self esteem and building your self worth. Because instead of doing those difficult things, you are focused on avoidance. And avoidance things could be like my favorite one, there's six of them. So, an avoidance technique that is used to avoid doing the things that you really need to do. One of them is comfort eating, and I am a comfort eater. If there's a problem that I have in the back of my mind that I really don't know how to solve, and I don't have I don't really know how to get at it, then I will eat to comfort myself. And after 2 or 3 days, I'm like, hey, what is going on here? Why am I eating for no good reason? And then I go, oh, because there's that thing there that I need to solve. And I just don't have the wherewithal to get to it. So then you have to sit in it. You have to sit in the messiness of whatever that challenge is or whatever that circumstance is that you really don't know how to get at. And for me, okay, so one of them the other day, I can share about myself. One of them for me was with my son. As some of you guys know, I have a son who's severely autistic, and he lives here. And he's like a grown man. He's 30. He's living his best life. I mean, he's so freaking good. But for me, I still have like this cultural narrative in my mind that because my son doesn't live with me, that he lives his own apartment and he has a full staff 10 minutes from me that takes exceptional care from him. There's still like that, abuela telling you that I'm not a good mother because he's not living in my house and I'm not taking care of him and somebody else is taking care of him. So that makes me a bad mother. Now, maybe back there then in the 30s and 40s, that would have been in 1930s and 1940s. That was the narrative because they didn't have the resources to be able to take care of their children in an external way that wasn't like a cuckoo house, right? But now in the 2020s that we're living in, I had to like have a conversation with myself and say what my grandmother has to say has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with her, right? And I know what's right for myself and I know what's right for my son. So what her opinions are have nothing to do with me. And the opinions that were stated that made me feel bad for me was to understand, why are they making me feel bad? And are they true within myself? And you know what? They weren't true within myself. But having that conflict within myself that I didn't really want to address, because for me, it felt like I was being disrespectful towards my grandmother, that I wasn't listening to her, that makes me a bad granddaughter, which has absolutely nothing to do with the point at hand, which is, am I a bad mother because my son lives in a group home 10 minutes from me with a full 24-hour staff? So then I had to get down to the dirty grittiness of it and sit in the uncomfortableness and go, okay, why is it that someone else is looking at this in such a bad way? And what have I processed to see something different? And for me, it helped me understand that my husband and we have 4 children altogether. I have one that's biological mine. I have a chosen daughter. And then I have 2 stepchildren. And my stepchildren were the ones that actually said to me, Ness, would you expect us to be home with you as adults? And I was like, no. And they were like, so why would you expect Zach to be home as an adult? And it was such a great reflection point because it's true. As parents, we're here to help our children become the most independent, productive, happy members for themselves and society, right? And I did that for my son. So I have nothing to feel guilty about. And having that little seed of doubt affected my confidence, full circle moment, affected my confidence in how I really was taking care of my son and his future ability to be an independent, productive member of society. So that little seed of doubt was wow affecting my confidence about my decisions for my son. And that's why it's so important when it comes to confidence. Sure, we can stand up tall and put our shoulders back and, speak with a deeper voice and dress well and have good manners and know how to communicate effectively and efficiently and be able to express our wants and needs, our desires. All of that is part of confidence building. But the thing that we forget to talk about are those deep seated things that we don't really want to address but are always there. Like on a computer, they're like these open tabs that you might have 20 or 24 of them because maybe they're too big to handle, or maybe you haven't yet learned the skill set to be able to address that one particular challenge or circumstance. And then it just kind of stays there open. And you know what happens when those things stay open? Oh my God, I read the best quote the other day about depression and anxiety when it comes to these things. And if you have a challenge that's unmet and you haven't addressed it for a long period of time, it talks about ruminating. So ruminating plus an unaddressed challenge of the past equals depression. Ruminating plus like focus on the future and like just really just ruminating on something that's going on in the future and you haven't really figured it out causes anxiety. So part of that confidence building is about just addressing these issues when they show up. If you don't know how to do it, speak to someone. Either talk to a therapist to be able to learn the skills that will allow you to address whatever challenge or circumstance you're dealing with, or you talk to your friends or your mentors because you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. Your families always talk to you from their lens and their perspective, and they want the best thing for you. So that's why it's good to talk to one of those friends that are direct and they're going to tell you about yourself with all the love in the world, but they're doing it because they want you to see the perspective that you need to see in order to solve the problem. Or you talk to an outside source, a therapist, a life coach, a psychologist, someone that will help you address and build the skill set that you need to build up in order to really address these deep challenges and deep circumstances that keep circling and circling and circling, and you haven't figured out how to solve it. So, Amber, thank you so much for DMing the question about confidence and really getting at the deep seated, rooted things that you haven't been able to address and how it affects your confidence. And I hope sharing it here with you guys on this fantastic community that we have in Feminine Spaces on YouTube, that it answered the question for you, and that I hope that it was clear by sharing a little bit about myself and how I dealt with that situation, and also that it was clear for you moving forward and how addressing those little challenges that are like peas that are just digging at you and they're ruminating, how it's important to address them. Feel free to always ask questions, especially when we're talking about these videos and talking about anything that has to do with relationship wisdom, self-worth, and building our self-confidence, and also conscious living. Thanks, you guys.